Hi everybody, Frank Hackett here from Retro Barbers. I'm back to you again with another tutorial this week, and this time I'm going to be looking at a fade. So the fade haircut is one of the most difficult haircuts in gents hair to do. So there's two different ways that I approach this haircut. You have two different techniques. Number one, your descending technique, and the other technique then is a technique where you put in a baseline, a more aggressive baseline, and you fade that out. So today's technique, we're going to go for the descending technique, and I'm going to show you step by step on how to do it. I hope you enjoyed it. So let's get started. So today what we're going to do is we're going to do a fade on a gent's haircut, and we're actually going to keep the fade quite low. So we're going to work with a descending technique, and we're going to start with a number 4 attachment on my Wahl super taper. So I'm going to start just around the temple area or slightly above. I'm going to take away all this area and create a nice blank canvas. So what we're looking to do is create a nice graduation just above the temple area so we can blend in to the hair just above the ridge here. So before we do the haircut, we obviously have a consultation, we assess the head shape. So there's things we got to take into consideration before we start. So obviously that doesn't come into play here, but so I'm going to decide far what we're going to do. So we're going to go in with the 4 bit in here. I'm going to start around the temple area. Keep your index finger again on the number 4. Start left to front, and I like to work from temple to temple. Just comb it up and bring it down. So as I come to the temple area here, I'm just going to fade off the head slowly. We're not going to flick out too much. This builds weight. So if I flick out this way, that builds weight too much there. And also if I shave up and stop, that also builds weight. So a lot of people, when they're doing cuts at home or in the salon, what they do is they get reluctant to take the clippers too far above the temples. So try not to be too afraid to bring the clippers up too high. Just trust your technique and follow through and come down. We want to the next section, shave up and come down. Keep an eye on what way the hair is growing always as well. So it's really important to keep an eye on the hair growth patterns. So we have to make sure that we're going against the grain of the hair all the time. So we switch over now to the number 3. So again, keep your finger on. And what I'm going to do here is we're just going to come in underneath where my 4 blade finished. So this will allow a nice graduation. So there's a natural graduation from the 3 to the 4. Now we go in with the number 2, and we're descending. So this technique is a descending technique. We're working down through the attachments, and we're graduating in a reverse motion. So we're working lower and lower, and it's getting a little bit shorter. Now we drop down to the 1.5 blade. So we put on your 1.5 attachments, and you pull back your lever here. So when you pull back this lever, that 1 becomes now becomes a 1.5. So that's roughly about 4.5 millimeters. So we go back in with the clippers, and again we're going to start on the temple area, and we just fade up into the number 2. So normally what I do is when I start going below a number 2 attachment, when I go for the 1.5, it just drops in half. So we go 1.5, 1.5, and gradually work your way down. So this 1.5 is just fading nice and naturally up into the previous attachment. So it gives a nice graduation with no lines. And up that through the back area. Just turn this around a little bit. You see the back. In with the 1.5, and a slight flicking movement here. So we're flicking the machine out just a small bit. Not too much. Again, obviously we don't want to build too much weight. Now we go back to the 1. So brought my lever on the side forward. Now we're on a 1 attachment. Back around to the sides, around the ears. Again, bend the ears around and using the corner, the inside corner of the clippers, and always be aware of where the other side of the clippers is, because we don't want to take anything from up here. So we've done the number 1, so now we drop down to the half attachment, which is, you get this by pulling your lever back on your clippers. So the blades are now open. So we go in again on the temple area and using this flicking movement, staying quite low and just fading it off the head. Same to the back area here. So we're roughly going about maybe a 1/4 inch over the ear. This is probably, if you haven't done a lot of fading, this is probably one of the easier ways of doing it. It's a nice way to get started with it. So full 0. And this is probably going to finish up maybe like a low fade. So it's a nice haircut, nice bit of weight, nice bit of movement still along. We're going to go back in with our clippers, and we're going to use clipper over comb on the area just above the fade. So I'm going to use my Andis clipper comb, and I'm going to use my Wahl super taper, and I have the 1 guard on it, And I'm just gradually working it up through this area here, just to keep it nice and square on the sides. I want to keep that weight there, but I just want to soften it out a little bit. So very, very similar to doing scissors over comb. I've just replaced it with my clip. So now we move into the top area here. So we're going to connect the crown into the back area. So I've created a radial section across the top from ear to ear, and then I've just sectioned it down through the center. So as you can see, I don't know if you can see there, but I have my guide line from my previously cut hair here, and I've just taken the section out 90 degrees straight out from the head. And we just divide this section in half, and we just move across the back area here just to connect in the crown. So again, just straight out from the head. So try and stand parallel to your sections. I'm just standing to the side, so I'm not going to block you, but just to keep your sections. Now we use the guideline off our back section here to move into the sides. So I have a guideline from my previous section from the crown area, and I also have a guideline for my clipper work underneath. So we're just going to work our way forward here towards the temple area. Nice small section. So the width of your sections really should be about 1/4 inch. Anything bigger than that, generally you lose your guideline, and it's a little bit hard to see where you're going. So if you do lose the guideline, just work back a couple of sections over what you've cut and you should be able to find it. I'm just going to over direct a little bit towards the front here because the fringe is coming into play a little bit, so just so we can protect. So now we move into the top section here, and I've connected the sides in, and by connecting both sides in like that, we just cut straight across the top. Nice clean sections moving forward. So it's probably going to be maybe 6 or 7 sections working forward here, and then for the last couple of sections then we're going to over direct just to protect that little bit of length. So the fringe is going to be worn a bit long, casual, so almost kind of like a long crop. It can be worn straight down, it can be worn to the side. It's actually pretty versatile haircut, so you can wear lots of different ways. So we're just going to start over directing a small bit and just kind of keep going, working towards the fringe, over directing it back towards yourself. With the top done, over directed towards the front, now work onto the fringe area, and I'm just going to take the fringe just about level with the eyebrows. So I'm just going to point cut just to keep a nice choppy finish, so it's not too straight looking. It's a nice casual long crop on the front. Just check it, always work in the center and work out, and then obviously check your mirror then as you're going. Now we're just going to dry it off and add a bit of palette and a few finishing touches. So the last thing we got to do is just add a little bit more texture to the hair. So there's a few different ways you can do this. We can point cut, or we can use my texturizing scissors or your thinning scissors to lighten it off a little bit and then to create a little bit more movement. So I don't want to go too heavy and I don't want to go too deep on it. So the hair is quite thick still at the moment. So I'm going to use my my texturizing scissors or your thinning scissors. And the way I like to use it is I slide the scissors in under the hair, just in under the hair like so, and just take small cuts. So it's almost like a quarter cut. So I'm not cutting fully down on the root. So it's just the middle ends and ends. So I'm just going very, very lightly through it. So this really isn't to take the weight out of the hair. It's really just to create a little bit more movement. Again, using your texturizing scissors, we can use a little bit of scissors over comb just to refine any areas or any blemishes that might not be fully blended. So the back area, again, keeping that square look. So it's good to refine the haircut at the end. There's always going to be a few finishing touches. If you wanted to go a little bit shorter with your outliner or your filer, you could. I'm just going to leave it at the 0 for now. On another video, I'm going to go for a skimmed alt. Just going to use a little bit of hairspray just to create a little bit of volume here on top. So this is Schwarzkopf Silhouette. It's the Stronghold. So just a little bit, we don't want to overload it. And just pick up a few pieces and we'll just style it like so. So that's the end of today's tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to be back to you later in the week with more videos. I hope to see you soon. Thank you.